All right, y'all, we're back here for another episode of Chasin Birdies, and it's Thursday. That means we're closer to the weekend.
Closer to the weekend. We're going to Pikewood National for the return of the champions for the practice round. I don't think we're going to play 18 holes, but it's like a tour event, right? I'm going to show up, I'm going to play 9 holes, muck it up with some people, range it a little bit, maybe get my clubs tweaked a little bit.
Yep, we are back. Yeah, man, it's going to be a battle. Last week, a battle. I was fortunate enough to play in the Allegheny member guest with our buddy J.R. Hess. What a fucking beauty he is, man. I mean, this kid... Oh, we had a blast. But JR played exceptional. I played well. I played really well. JR played really, really well. We won the flight. We won our flight. So...
That's awesome. I will say, though, JR thinks that he's going to sneak into anything. But you got another thing coming for you.
Well, real quick, we played great. We win the flight. And congratulations to Brian John and Patrick Oth for winning.
Our boy, BJ.
Bimmer.
I saw a photo of them with the trophy, and Pat Oth had on the Ward sweater, boys.
Yeah, a little Oakmont throwback there. So, no, man, it was great. We get into the shootout. They call out Team Hess, Team Oth, and Team Roethlisberger. First tee, bud. 60 people watching from the veranda at Allegheny. If you know Allegheny people out there, especially Pittsburgh people, number one's right by the veranda. So it's us, Bimmer and Oth, Roethlisberger and his partner. And I tell you what, right there, my whoop went up from about 90 heartbeats per minute to 160.
You a little nervous, bud?
Oh, bud, I got a little nervous. First tee in the shootout, bud.
Rumor has it that you said you were nervous.
The most nervous I've ever been on a tee box. I can honestly say that. But
why, though?
People watching, got to make
7.
birdie. You're in a group with Roethlisberger. I mean, not that I know the guy or he knows me, but it's like, damn. And hit a little toey on the first hole into the fescue. JR made a clutch putt. Anyways, not to talk about it. The Allegheny member guest was phenomenal. Thank you, JR. We did not win. Congrats to Mimmer again. But so you and I today, buddy.
I do want to say, though, this episode is brought to you by Lynx Brewing. And you like my new hat, bud?
Yeah, look at that Lynx
we were
hat.
just with the Lynx Brewing boys Tuesday and Wednesday at Oakmont. And we had our buddy George Burge, which is going to be, I'm assuming, the next episode. But you can make that call. It was a great time. I mean, Tuesday night, bud, he was jamming in that house with the boys. They were
loving it. Loving it.
They were loving it. So it was good. The beers were flowing. Lynx Brewing. Again, go to lynxbrewing.com. Check them out. They have a lot of offerings. Most important offering is the Chasin Birdie Blonde Ale. So, anywho, today's episode's pretty cool, too.
And I was just going to say, for you drinkers out there, and maybe not beer, I mean, we got Josh Miller on Chasin Birdie podcast today, founder of Owen's Mixers. You may know Owens through the Barstool people. You may know Owens because you're a Moscow Mule fan. But anyways, this guy is a avid golfer, phenomenal entrepreneur, started from scratch, blew the brand up, and he was so kind to give us some time and jump on here on Chasin Birdies.
Dude, his stories, you talk about Chasin Birdies, that's Chasin Birdies. I mean, it's cool to see, though, somebody took a shot, like they said. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it. And that's what we did with the Chasin Birdies brand. So we appreciate everyone following.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, we got to give a little shout out to Matt Fitzpatrick for winning the U.S. Open.
But did you see the putts he was making on the final round? You don't make that. You don't make those putts unless you everything's on your side. And I wanted Zalatoris to win just because he's been there. 18, I thought he jarred it, but I will say I'm so happy for the Bettinardi team.
Yep.
Again, sponsor of the show, but another major for them. And they are sneaky right now, dude. There's a lot of people winning with Bettinardi putters right now, and there's a reason why. So we need to win a major this week.
Let's do it, baby. Let's
get up there. We both got Betties, and let's roll on up.
All right, y'all. Enjoy this episode with Josh Miller from Owen's Mixers. All right, y'all. We're back here for another episode of Chasin Birdies. And today, our guest, I mean, you look him up on the internet, he's everywhere. with respect to his company that he co-founded, Owen's Craft Mixers. You may be familiar with them through the Barstool brand. You may be familiar with them in a local restaurant in New York City. But today we have Josh Miller here on the Chasin Birdies podcast. Josh, thank you, man.
Thanks for having me on. Excited to be on here. The hype is real.
The hype is real. That's right, man. And it's good to see a guy like you, doing what you're doing right now in life. So how's everything going with you? You're out in California, correct?
I am actually in South Portland, Maine right now. It's kind of funny. Owens is named after my great-great-grandfather, who was an Irish immigrant who migrated to the United States in 1864. I'm in the house that his son, William Woods, built. And I took it over in 2007 with my sister.
That's sick.
So that's the original blueprint from 1932.
Damn.
And we've changed a little bit since 1932, but
you got
I'm in
electricity.
South Portland, Maine for the summer. So our family is deeply rooted in Maine, and so it's pretty cool to be back here and be able to be flexible to live here for the summer.
So Portland, Maine. My college teammate is from there. I don't know if you play a lot golf. His name's Sean Warren. I don't know if you're familiar with that name. He played at Marshall University, but he's up in Bangor.
Yeah, just north of me, about 2 hours.
Yeah, we'll have to make an introduction to you. He likes to have some fun, and he just played in the PGA Championship as well. So
Maine has some sneaky good golf courses here. Granted, you only get a couple months out of the year where it's like prime. But right now it's like 72 and sunny every day, and there's like no humidity, and it's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like San Diego, except not, but
except
close.
You're not in California paying taxes.
yeah.
$10
I've never been to Maine. Never been to Maine.
Do you eat seafood?
I like seafood. I mean, I eat
American?
it. I'm American.
Dude,
I think.
Checks the two boxes. That's Maine in a nutshell.
Boom.
I would say, and I don't mean to oversell Maine because everybody I talk to is always like, my God, you work for like the travel and tourism for the state of Maine. It has pound for pound the best food scene I would stand by across the country. The reason why I say this is for the size of Portland and the number of restaurants they have, you rarely get a bad meal there. As where you go to New York City, which has some of the most prolific restaurants in the world, same thing with Los Angeles, Chicago, but it's also a city filled with tons of bad ones. So I'm talking pound for pound. There are restaurants here that have James Beard Awards. The amount of restaurateurs that have been flocking to Maine is just wild. And the nightlife is amazing. My buddy literally just bought one of the coolest bars ever called the Porthole. If you come to Maine, Porthole was the first bar in Maine to carry Owen, so I'll love them forever for that. But it's on the dock. It's got live music. My boy John bought it, and he also bought a 350-person booze cruise called the Casablanca right out of it. So you're on there. Yeah, you take a boat, and it takes you all around the island, and it's so much fun. And they do live music on the weekends.
So you dock it right there. Like he'll dock it right at the bar.
The boat will come in at like 8 p.m. right after the sun's gone down. And people will have been on there for like 3 hours. And it's like, I don't know the best way to describe it other than it's like The Walking Dead coming off that boat. And it's because people are just like loaded and had a great time. For my 30th birthday a couple years ago, my buddies and I did the Casablanca, and there was like a 70s cover band. Yeah, and I mean we almost sunk that ship. We were having so much fun, but it was great. Yeah.
It's like it's not comparable, people, to the Gateway Clipper back here in Pittsburgh. I can tell you that right now.
I haven't been there, but Pittsburgh is one of the coolest cities too.
Great city.
Sadly, I don't think it's on par with the restaurants, but there are gems in Pittsburgh.
There's some gem restaurants in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So I'm a big foodie, and I'll tell you, there's some great spots here. So when you come to Pittsburgh, we'll get you dialed in.
Yeah, I have a funny Pittsburgh story for you. So when I was selling to a lot of like places in Pittsburgh early on, I was lucky enough to get into PPG Arena, and my buddy Nick Fenton runs that for Airmark, runs that arena, and he took a chance on us. He brought us during this was 2018 season. And we came up with the Yinzer Mule, and I didn't know what the hell a Yinzer was. And so he emailed me. He's like, yeah, I want to call it the Yinzer Mule. It'll be vodka with Owen's ginger beer and lime. We'll sell it. We'll do a playoff cup. Like, can you make me signage? And I go, I think there's like a typo. What's a Yinzer? And he goes, brother, if you're going to sell in Pittsburgh, you better figure it out.
You better figure it out.
And
That's
so
awesome.
we made that signage, and he was awesome. But the craziest day I've ever had in Pittsburgh was at Pirates, at PNC opening day. I was flying in to take some meetings, and a couple clients wanted to go to the Pirates game. You guys take opening day really serious.
Really serious.
And I had no idea. So I flew in that morning I was living in New York at the time. I think I landed at like 8 a.m. or something like that. So it was super early. So I went to the hotel to drop off my bags. I was staying right directly across from PPG. I love Pittsburgh because you can get everywhere so quickly. But the guys that I was with were like, hey, meet us in the parking lot at 11:45. And they had a tall boy ready for me. And I was like, oh, my God.
For 7 o'clock game or something.
Well, luckily, they had been there for a while, but this was like the 1 p.m. start or something like that. So we go in, and I had in my head, this was like my second Pittsburgh trip, but I was like, I got to get Vermonti Bros. I got to watch a little bit of baseball, and then I want to like go home and like relax and then go out to dinner, later that night. I end up at Three Rivers Casino in the 6th inning. I lose roughly $1,000 within 30 seconds of stepping foot into that casino.
Yeah.
And I was in bed with a Jimmy John's sandwich by 7 p.m.
And you smelled like a cigarette.
Oh, I smelled terrible.
Yeah, like a dumpster fire.
But it was fun, from what I remember.
It's a great city. So tell us a little bit about, Owen's Mixers. Funny enough, I know of it because of the transfusions. I'm a big transfusion guy. The whole history of how you founded it with your brother-in-law, how did it come to that point where we get to Owen's Mixers?
Yeah, my background comes from food and beverage. Tyler and I, my brother-in-law, we grew up in Portola Valley, California together. He's 3 years older than me. Tyler was an unreal athlete, the all-time scorer, and I always give him a shout out on this because, he's washed up. I think he literally, this morning, he told me that he pulled his hamstring playing basketball on Sunday, or his groin. So I got to at least let people know that he used to be sick.
Right.
But Tyler was like the all-time scoring leader in basketball, football, played football at UCLA all 4 years, then went to Columbia Business School, undergrad, I think, political science, something random, but ended up getting into like healthcare consulting out of college. I went a different route. I went to University of South Carolina. I partied for fun, and the SEC was unreal. I felt like my idea of what I wanted to do was always on sales. I always felt like I had a passion and affinity for sales, so I wanted to pursue that. When I was a freshman in college, I got to work for Honest Tea. And do you guys know what Honest Tea is?
Yeah. Yep.
So I worked for the OG Honest Tea company. That was when they put like the actual glass bottles out, and it was just tea. And then when I joined, we had come out with Honest Aid, which was the juices. This is pre-Coca-Cola acquisition. So that was like I was their first intern, and I worked throughout the Northeast, actually, in Mid-Atlantic. So I traveled and did events with them, but then did sales trips because they knew I wanted to sell. So I would like go into Kmart's. I would go into like 7-Elevens. I would go into like the ghetto. It was the ghetto at the time was Lowell, Mass. 2007, selling organic tea in Lowell, Mass was very hard to do. And I couldn't believe, like I said, like they would send me to the hardest parts because I would just go out and grind with these distributors. They eventually got it bought by Coca-Cola, and it was like crazy for me to see like a company get bought. Like I was just like, holy shit. And so then I always knew, like, in my DNA and what I wanted to do, I wanted to start like something within food and beverage, a brand. I had worked for a company. My buddy came up with the idea to start Sir Kensington's Ketchup. And when I was at college, he was a couple years older than me. I was his first salesperson. So I would go up and down the streets of Manhattan selling ketchup. And like my mom would, like, if you said, what does your son do at the time? She'd be like, oh, he's a traveling ketchup salesman. And I think my mom in her head thought that I was literally knocking on someone's door being like, hi, can I talk to you about what's in your fridge? Like, she didn't understand that I was like selling.
I will say, bud, Heinz 57's in our backyard, so that's the best ketchup going. So
I got to give credit where credit is due. Heinz is Goliath. It's the 800-pound gorilla in the room.
It's so good.
It is quite possibly, and I will argue with anybody, it might be the most polarizingly and positive dominant brand you will ever see. Because people say, what about Coca-Cola? I go, there's also like 40% of America that drinks Pepsi.
Yeah.
Heinz is like 98%. The
Yeah.
other 2% was Sir Kensington's, or you get Hunt's.
Hunt's.
Yeah.
That is just
Now,
like
who the
dog
hell
shit,
wants
of course.
Hunt's?
Dude, you don't trust people like that. Let me tell you,
Right.
they're Hunt's character.
That's some
So
raw
sorry to cut
tomatoes.
you off. You're knocking on
No.
doors at midnight.
He does it often, Josh.
No, I'm the same. So I'm selling ketchup up and down the streets of Manhattan. Truth be told, where I really had fun was going out at night. I would take out these chefs and we would party so unbelievably hard because chefs have one of the weirdest lifestyles ever. Number one, your hours suck. There's no doubt about it. You've never seen a chef that's like, oh, my work-life balance is great. Number two, the only feedback they get is negative.
Right.
It's like, when you say, like, oh, send my compliments to the chef. What fucking server has ever gone in the back and been like, hey, chef, you crushed it on that
Yeah,
cheeseburger,
they
bro."
love you. Yeah.
Yeah, never. It's like, where are my French fries? Or my person said they were gluten-free, and now they're complaining, or they said they were nut-free, and now they're on the ground going into shock because you put nuts into it or whatever, right? Like, a chef's life is tough. So me as a 21-year-old and a 22-year-old and whatever in New York City, my strategy was take these guys out, party with them, let them know that, like, I want to be friends, which was true. Like, all of my chef friends were true friends to me. But I would go out to bars and restaurants and, like, ordering cocktails was always the most uncomfortable experience you could imagine. Like, I knew my steak order. I knew my burger order or what I would get in an Italian restaurant. But there's something about when somebody says, what do you want to drink? You freeze. And that's why 90% of cocktails are ordered off a menu, and why brands pay so much money to get on the menu is because they know that, like, your average person like us three is going to be like, all right, I'll try the Boulevardier, or I'll try this martini or whatever. So fast forward doing Sir Kensington's for 6 years, we were kind of in this position where we knew we were going to get acquired. And my brother-in-law and I, being best friends in New York City, would go to Bleecker Street Sports Bar. And it's like an absolute dump of a dive bar, RIP, because it shut down during the pandemic. And the truth is, pretty sure they took the money and ran. But
Rip.
This place was like your stereotypical darts pool. We would drink shots of Jameson, Miller Lite, and he would drink Coors Light. I'm a Miller Lite guy. And that's it. You order a cocktail there, it takes like 20 minutes to come out because people are like trying to get drinks and never comes out the right way. So Tyler was, I would say, like on the verge of quitting already his job because he was working like 100 hours a week. I knew that Sir Kensington's was going to be acquired by a bigger company. So we just said, like, what can we do together? And I was like, what if we start making cocktail mixers? I was at like this bar the other night and I asked like what ginger beer they use, and they're like, I don't know. And Moscow Mules happened to be our favorite cocktail at the time. So we went into his kitchen and started making our versions of Moscow Mules from scratch, but literally juicing down the ginger, squeezing the limes, cooking the simple syrup, using a soda stream to carbonate it. So that's like how we actually started, is off our own experience, and then we were stupid enough to just go full throttle.
Wait a second.
So in an apartment.
Yeah, New York City apartment.
New York City apartment. So like a bathroom, the size of a bathroom.
Yep.
You two are in there probably laughing with each other, just joking around and making these Moscow Mules. And here we are.
I mean, if you've seen Breaking Bad, we look like Walter White and Jesse Pinkman already. I mean, he has like a beard goatee, and he has no hair up top, and I have all my hair, thank God. I always give him a hard time about that because he's 6'4", so gotta find something to chirp him about. But
so whenever you guys go through this, did you have friends come over? Hey, try this out, and get honest feedback? Because we have a beer, and everybody that drinks it is like, oh, this is great, and we're like, dude, can somebody just tell us that it sucks? Because I don't want you to be like,
ginger beer sucked ass. Like it tasted too earthy. And I actually blame a lot of people for not giving me that honest feedback. To what you just said, give me the real, like shoot me straight.
Shoot me straight.
You really have to dig deep, but you also, it's like being on the show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and you're waiting for that final answer of the question. Go up to a perfect stranger and don't give them any context, and they will find something wrong with it.
Yeah.
Like, rarely do you win in a situation when you're like leaving it up to chance about this random person making your decision. Like, I've been in so many bars where I'll sit there, and unless the the bartender gives the person context, like, what do you think of this drink? If they say it like that, or you have a chance at winning. But if they're like, do you like this? And the person like that, do you like this? Is such an ugly way to ask a question.
Yeah.
But when we were first starting, we got high on our own supplies, meaning we were drinking so many of these things. And then my sister's 30th at the time, we threw up a birthday party with all of our friends. We brought like 4 bottles that we had made that we sealed, and those 4 bottles were gone. I'm not even kidding, within like 2 minutes. And I think we're just the type that we were like, we're not going to ease into it. Like, let's send it. So we just started putting money into it and making it and selling it.
So let me ask you guys, you talked about you actually made the ginger beer. You took the ginger, you broke it down, you did all that shit. Was it the same every time you made it? Like when you hit on something that tasted the way you wanted it to taste or whatever, was that ingredient going forward completely?
So we have a rule. It's the number 8 rule. My favorite number was number 8 growing up. Maybe it's because of that, but we would do 8 iterations of every single product, no matter what. You have to find something wrong. And they're like, our mint cucumber lime mixer is a perfect example. We nailed it the first time. Then we kept tweaking with it. Then it started tasting like toothpaste. Then it started tasting like pickle brine, like a pickleback. But we kept re-engineering and reformulating. And the reason why you have to continually push and try different things is because what if you get a manufacturer that goes slightly off on something, and that slightly off is something that you have tested and you know to avoid? Or they say, I have this ingredient that I can substitute, or this supplier has this type of cane sugar. You need to know what you're going to get. So it's kind of like you need to battle test it before you get to final production. But to the point of, were we making it the same? No, it was like every single time it was different.
Mm-hmm.
And then we finally got to what we liked.
And that was it.
Yeah.
So did it branch off from there? Like the ginger beer was your staple, correct? That's what it sounds like.
That's why our logo is the mule.
Yeah, the mule.
We're stubborn about our commitment to quality, carries our portfolio. But then we quickly got into other flavors. And we were, I would say quickly, but we were patient. We had the mule, so the ginger beer, and then the grapefruit for a Paloma as our first 2 items. We didn't touch margarita mix till 2 years ago, which is crazy to me now that I think back on it. Because I was like, oh, there's so many margarita mixes already. Why would we do a margarita mix? And then I realized because we can make it better. Like, that's why we should do a margarita mix.
And how's that unit going? Pretty good?
On fire. I mean, we decided to make it slightly carbonated, so it's like a sparkling margarita mix, because LaCroix, San Pellegrino, all these carbonated waters are so popular right now, and everybody at bars typically asks for a skinny margarita anyways. So ours is lighter by nature, but bubbly, so it's actually easier to mask the flavor of the tequila or complement it if it's a good tequila.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we use 100% agave nectar, real lime juice. I mean, I could drink our margarita mix all day, every night. I truly love that product because I love tequila. And
all right, Bash,
you can make a spicy marg, by just throwing in some jalapenos and swirling it around. Or you can muddle them, or you can add in syrups, but
So let me ask you something.
That's awesome,
as
dude.
far as when you guys,
that's really cool.
When you guys are doing this in your house or you're in your apartment, did you say, let's take this to some bars in New York, some buddies in New York? You have all these contacts. Did you take it to them first as a, hey, check this out, see how this does, and let us know?
You guys are going to think I'm crazy. So instead of going to the people that I know would say yes, I went to the people that I thought would say no, right away, so that I could get their
real
honest
judgment.
feedback. Yeah. To your point, right? Your friends are going to be my buddy Euripides, who started Bear Burger. It's like a 40-unit burger chain. He never even tasted the product, and he threw it on the menu because we love each other, and
Right.
and he invested. He invested in the brand. He was just like, brother, whatever you push, if it's a liquid soap, I'm in. And I was like, all right, well, it's not. It's a mixer. I went to One Oak, was the first place. The reason why I went to One Oak, could never get into that club. So line out the door. All the
You're
celebrities
chasing
would go there.
birdies.
Chasing birdies, right? So why not? And One Oak, I was there actually when I had the aha moment to start the brand, and I called Tyler the next day. I was at One Oak the night before. It was like my first time truly at One Oak, and my buddy was like a promoter, and he's like, just come, like, get a bottle, like, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't have enough money for a bottle. He's like, I don't know, get a couple buddies, split it. Getting the bill the next day, you talk about, like, I would equate it in golf to having, like, a perfect round, and then you just absolutely shank one, but then it, like, ruins, you unravel from there. That's how it felt getting that bill.
It's a Pep's round every day.
So we went to One Oak, and Frank McHugh was the director of ops there, and Frank is like Irish mob, and like he's the man, and he was chain smoking Marlboro Reds inside with no AC or any ventilation. And I told him about my experience there. I was like, it's kind of funny how you're charging all these bottles prices, but no one can make a cocktail in here.
Ooh.
He's like, what's your suggestion? And Tyler and I, we went to Kinko's before. This is how bootleg this was, and got Elmer's glue and put the label that we had designed onto that we had like cut out with scissors. And he goes, all right, I'll take 10 cases.
No.
And we were like, what?
Wait a minute.
And he's like, yeah, I'll take 10 cases, get it on my Chef's Warehouse order. Didn't have our distributor at the time. Didn't have it produced. So we're like, hey, Frank, if you don't mind, we want to launch this in the fall. This was in April or May. And we were like, knowing that it's going to take us some time to ramp up, I'm like, we're doing a big launch in the fall. We'd love to keep you a part of it. We walk out of that meeting. Tyler doesn't ever get excited. We're walking. He goes, under his breath, he goes, is this something we can celebrate? And I was like, we need to fucking party. So then number 2, I cold called Delta Airlines. I don't know. The Sky Clubs. There's Sky Clubs everywhere. Talk about a random cold call number 2. I get a meeting. I go down to Atlanta.
Wait a minute.
We got into all
I
the
can't
Sky
even
Clubs
change
after
my
that
ticket
meeting.
time, and you're getting to somebody to have a meeting with?
I do want to pat myself on the back on one thing. I can cold call anybody. You can put me on the spot right now. I will get through to anybody. I mean, I love cold calling. I think it's the backbone.
Hey, where there's a no, there's a yes, my man.
Are you guys fans of The Office?
Yes.
Remember Dwight's famous quote, blood alone moves the wheels of society?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cold calling are those wheels.
That's
you
it.
know?
Yeah.
So then number 3 was Talbot.
Well, how'd it go with Delta?
Delta, they were like, we have inconsistencies in the bar. It's really annoying. Do you have national distribution? That one was a tough question.
So what do you say to that? You pivot.
I said, since I know these distributors, who they are, or who I thought they were, the food distributors at the time, I said, I'm getting set up nationally with Cisco. We'll be ready in 5 months. So pre-selling to all these places was a key to gaining confidence, but I also felt like this very false sense of just like indestructible nature, meaning there was no one that could stop us. And I still feel that today, but reality checks were coming, you know? And I just knew if we could at least stack the deck with as many yeses before we went to production, I would at least feel better about our own financial stake in the company and then going and raising money.
Yeah, and I saw you guys raise, it's a couple rounds of VC-backed funding, which, I mean, that had to be a process in itself. I can't imagine the hurdles. Maybe not. I mean, it depends upon, who you're linked up with. But still, at the end of the day, you got to have your shit together in order to raise that type of dough. So you pivot from that, you kind of get rolling, and you're not that old of a company. I mean, Owen's Mixers is 6 years.
6 year.
Nationwide distribution.
Yeah.
How do you get in bed with Barstool?
So Barstool I knew somebody, her name's Becca. She's at Barstool now. I used to throw these parties.
There's a common denominator here.
What's that, bud?
Party,
love to
drinking,
party.
golf.
We're getting into golf.
Love to party. So every club that I would want to get into or bar would be like, okay, but what's that going to do for me? And I'd be like, I don't know. I could probably get my friends to show up and drink some. Would that help? He goes, this literally started as a conversation is you get like 10 friends here on a Friday night and we'll carry your product. Then we're throwing 1,000-person Super Bowl parties with Tao Group where Little John, Shaq West, Ray Strummerd, Too Short are all performing that. Like, you talk about like just like a crazy like trajectory of like what the hell. This party is awesome. They used to come to our parties though. A lot of people came to our parties, and so we would launch them at different bars. And we were hosting. Like, I felt like a promoter at the very beginning. Like, thank God we've like kind of geared away from that. But we would be hosting them all over the city. And so we would do Facebook group invites, and we would try to get as many people aware of what's going on, and then they would show up and buy. When I reached out to Barstool, it was this girl, Becca, had taken a job there. She had worked in media elsewhere. And I said, hey, I've got an idea, and we had the transfusion in mind because we wanted to make a transfusion mix. We want to sit down with you guys about doing it. And she's like, wait, like, you mean the brand that I used to go to these? Like, I didn't know Becca was at Barstool yet. My friend was like, hey, Becca is at Barstool now. And I was like, wait a second. She used to come to our parties, right? And he's like, yeah, you're in. So then we got meetings set up. In those meetings, Barstool had a lot of due diligence about, like, you know, what do we want to do with this? You know, you can buy ads and stuff like that, but like if you want a true all-encompassing partnership, you have to have a plan in place and structure, and you have to be able to scale this. And so we laid it out. We signed the partnership. We launched the partnership April 15th, and the world shut down a month prior with the pandemic. So, like, I mean, we were planning on, like, a huge Hamptons launch party. We were planning on, like, a New York City, you know, all across country. So it drastically shifted very quickly as to what our original plan is with Barstool. And then one of my buddies, Mike Martinez, was really close with Riggs. So while we were starting those initial conversations, I had a couple calls with Riggs where I was like, hey, I need your real input on this. You know, what do you think about doing the transfusion? And Riggs was like, dude, I've been wanting to do this forever. Transfusion, I've been talking about him for years on my podcast. So Riggs and I went golfing. We came up with a recipe together. He tested all of the flavors. And same with Erica, same with Dave. Everybody at Barstool was very involved with the flavor development. And it was like a whole process, but it's just crazy to like look back on that, you know, and say transfusions were popular. Barstool
put them on the map
though, like nationally. Yeah. Like,
no.
It's crazy.
You can't go to a golf course and not see a transfusion. And then majority of the time it's with our stuff, thank God. But there's also a lot of phonies out there that are trying to rip us off with like RTDs, crap like that. And I could go in on
Pinehurst
has the GOAT.
Yeah, so we have tight ties in Pinehurst. We've been going there for years, and you know the Cradle hasn't like it's water. I mean, they've got it everywhere.
Cradle is an absolute beast of like. I think that might quite possibly could be a grown man or woman's dream vacation if they like golf.
Yeah,
that single spot of Pinehurst. I don't know a better vibe on the planet. They're bumping music. My buddy Ben Bridgers is the director of golf there. I don't know if you guys know him, but
I've heard of him.
He really like pioneered and grandfathered Owen to getting in there. And now they like put it at the Cradle Crossing bar that they have there. You can go around barefoot. You can get as drunk as you want. You can stay as sober as you want. Like it's just, and when the weather's great, like I really don't know a better place for golf.
That's awesome.
So let me ask you this. I got two questions actually. So, you know, the quality control of this has to be really good because, you know, like you said, one little ingredient that's a little different can change the whole taste. So did you guys go through a couple different companies to find the company? Because you had to interview these companies that are going to manufacture this.
You have to so we have 4 manufacturing facilities across the country.
Holy shit.
We do some pretty deep due diligence, and they do as well. You know, to give them a shout out,
yeah.
They do a good job with picking their partners. Here's what people don't think about is that operationally, the way you make the most money is you have heavy machinery running at all times. The reason why you're running at all times is when you turn on a switch and you have go, you need it to run as consistently and long as possible so that you're maximizing number of units being made, and you are just spitting out, you know, bottle, can after can. And so really good manufacturers are hard to come by, thus making it highly competitive to get into the top manufacturers. So what happens is, unfortunately, a lot of brands never really take out the marketing or salesmanship, but really from a manufacturing standpoint, because they can't find a consistent manufacturer to make their product that's reliable, that they'll do it on time. We still deal, even some of the best facilities across the country will be behind on schedules. We had a shipment of a container of glass that literally went missing, and no one could give us information on it. And like it's still to this day, it's an absolute mystery. So there are these hurdles and obstacles that you're going to face. But with manufacturing, they're not going to just take a small brand and be like, let's stop, Red Bull, or let's stop, whatever beverage it is to make, this little pissant brand. So we had to like prove that we could do volume and get into those places. So it's like it's a two-way interview.
Wow, man. I'll tell you what, in a short 32 minutes of the synopsis of Owen's Craft Mixers, I mean, that is a lot of shit, man.
Yeah, it certainly feels like I always use the saying, you're either the founder or the janitor, and most days you're the janitor.
Dealing with all that.
So my other question is, are you international yet?
Canada, yes, not anywhere else, and there's a real reason for that. When
taxes and stuff like the tax.
No, it's just more like, do you really know what's going on with your product when you ship it overseas? Like, sure, sales are great, but what if somebody's buying it, reselling it, putting it at a ridiculous price, and then that person internationally does not have a good experience with it? I look at Tito's Vodka. Tito's Vodka is a 25-year-old brand. The best brand. I would put Tito's close up there with Heinz, honestly, with like brand like power and like how much people love it, cult following, price point, everything. But a lot of people don't realize that Tito's is an overnight success. Tito himself built this brand over 25 years with amazing people behind it. They weren't international probably until about 8 years ago or 10 years ago. And now that's why they're going to see even more of an increase in growth. But it's just like you don't know always what's going on. When we were doing Sir Kensington's, our ketchup was very, very popular in Japan. We couldn't figure out why. Took one trip to realize that a lot of people were using it as pasta sauce.
What?
Pasta sauce. Weird, right?
I wouldn't even.
No, neither would I. But it's whole tomatoes. There's sugar in it, and yeah, it's tomato, and so it just goes to show you, it's like weird things that you don't know that's going to happen when you sell internationally. So
with the go ahead, Pep.
You're obviously very busy with Owen's Mixers right now, but a true passion is golf. So how did you get involved in the great game of golf?
I did not grow up playing golf. I would play maybe once a year. I never owned my own set of clubs. My dad was really into golf, but I played baseball. So summers were like baseball and basketball and football. And golf, I played maybe more than once a year, but never owned a set. You can still see it in my swing, like any other baseball player. It's like recently I fixed it, but I had a natural draw, aka
right.
You have a hook, brother. It ain't a natural draw. But right when the pandemic hit, my girlfriend and I decided to move back to Maine at the end of April because we're like, we don't know how this is going to go. It's a bigger house than what we had in our small apartment. So I moved out to Maine, and I joined my country club here. It's called Perputic. And I was like disciplined in the sense that I was like, I'm going to try to play 3-4 times a week and teach myself how to play golf. And so I hit up my buddy from TaylorMade, and he's like, I got you. Send me some clubs on discount. I said to him, I was like, I got to pay like something for these because I might like end up having to sell them at some point if I'm not good. And I'll never forget the first day out on the tee box. You guys talk about like a fucking wild world. This guy in his 50s and his son who's like 18 were like, hey, are you on the box with us? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, you new member? I go, yeah. And so we tee off. The guy's name's Bruce and Teddy. By the third hole, this guy goes, so what do you do in the booze industry? And I was like, what? Like, what a weird, like, how did he know that? And I'm like, oh, hey, stupid, your head cover is a Transfusion head cover, and it says Owens on my bag. And I go, oh, I make cocktail mixers. And the son goes, wait, are you Owen? I was like, well, it's my company. It's my great-great-grandfather. He goes, Oh, I love Barstool, like blah, blah, blah. Because he had heard the ad reads. We hadn't even come out with a Transfusion yet because this is, May 2nd of 2020. We launched it in July. And then I said to Bruce, I go, so what do you do? He goes, I started Shipyard Brewing with my cousin Fred. And then
No.
Shipyard, if you don't know what Shipyard is, one of the best original OG craft beer brands in the country. They created Pumpkinhead, which everybody rips off
Yeah.
now.
Oh, it's crazy.
But they're OGs in the beer game. And I'm like, what the like, of all people to get paired with, and I'm a firm believer in weird fate.
Yeah.
But Bruce and I still play now at least 2 or 3 times a week. I'm actually going to be
awesome.
I'm going to be on the Big Jab with him tomorrow. But he helped me get like 4 different distributors in the Northeast, like within a month after like hanging with him. And
Boom.
so golf to me is, everyone knows it's like the greatest connector of all things.
Yep.
But what I love about it is you can suck at this sport and play with somebody who's unbelievably unreal and still network, get along. Of course, it's not enjoyable watching yourself shank it in front of somebody who's ridiculously good.
Yeah.
But at least if you're not an asshole and you play fast and you are personable and you respect the game, you can make friends everywhere.
Listen,
Oh my God.
man, I'm all about the fast play, a
That's
good
the
cigar, and let's just keep it moving.
I don't take a practice swing, Pep. You would love me. I don't even take a go in raw.
I do too.
I've never lined up a putt.
I raw dog it. So,
Well, he's a scratch golfer. I mean, we both play at zeros. Not every day.
I feel bad for you guys. That must be so hard.
Well, but
it's hard right now.
That's the point. Like, we don't, like, me personally, it's not even like, I would love to have a boosted handicap. I would love to be able to go to a tournament and be a 3 or 4 handicap because, frankly, more than likely, I'm going to shoot 75, 76. I mean, granted, I could get it lower, but it's not that consistent. So the handicap system kind of screws us in a way, especially he and I remember guest partners twice a year. This year, we're going to have to get some Owens going next week, Pep.
Well, we just got picked up by Fuhrer.
Oh, no way.
Frank Fuhrer.
In Pittsburgh. Yeah. And they're telling me that this is going to be everywhere. So,
well, good.
Well, they're very
I'll be in Pittsburgh a lot.
They're very tied in with Oakmont Country Club. So
that was like one of the most torturous rounds of my lifetime. Mick, as you guys know, and Shay took me out there. Shay Waldron and Mick and Shay were so gracious to have me out there. Jack Summers was our host, and I get out there and I thought I bombed a drive down the left side. I'd never seen rough like this in my life.
Oh,
and my caddy's like, just go lateral, take a pitching wedge, and get out. And I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? And I get out my 5-iron like a dickhead and just throw it down into the rough. And then I hit what felt like the perfect third shot, and it hits the green, and it just rolls forever.
Yeah.
I mean, that course was a beauty, but, I've never been more happy to go get a cold-ass beer in my life.
That's a quick 7.
After that round. Yeah.
Yeah, we just played there last Tuesday and Wednesday, so it was a tough one.
Yeah.
So wait a second. I was just gonna ask Josh because he's got such a good connection, like with the PGA Tour. Like, because I know when you and I spoke a month or so ago, you're going to the PGA Championship. Yeah. And obviously this episode is going to air after the U.S. Open, which is coming up here now. But does having Owens kind of in the golf world a little bit because of Barstool and Foreplay, does that allow you to get into some of these events and interact with some people? And again, because golf is a connecting sport, what you just mentioned. So how has that shaped your business a little bit?
So golf has been an entry level for our brand to, I would say, just your average Americans that obviously golf, but like it's almost like it's a way to get to a very specific demographic. Mm-hmm. Like we are finding active people. We're finding people that live typically in like warmer climates, take out the summers, right? Because like everywhere in the Northeast is gorgeous in the summer, but like where we index really high during majority of the year is Arizona, California, Texas, Florida. That shouldn't be shocking anybody. And then the Carolinas, because you can golf year round there. With the access to the tournaments, I've now been fortunate enough to go to, I think I've been to 8 tournaments this year.
Wow.
And it's been, and so you
awesome.
I say that and I can see your face being like, oh, that's so badass. That's killer. these tournaments are a grind. Like, it's making sure the product's there, the distributor dropped off the right amount. I'm going to literally, at the PGA Championship, we had 109 points of distribution at Southern Hills, meaning 109 different little POS stalls that had selling Transfusion, Margarita, and Mule. And
Damn.
I brought my team with a couple of my team members, and I said before we went, I said, "Hey, this is gonna be fun, but guess what? The first 2 days of this tournament, we are going to hit all 109 bars and shake the hand of every single bartender, tell them about our product, literally give them the pitches if they're a buyer, and make them Team Owens." Because just because we got into the tournament, selling wasn't done. I want to be the number one cocktail.
Yeah.
We were the number one selling cocktail at Ryder Cup last year, and talk about a tough course to friggin' walk to go
damn.
do staff trainings. Whistling Straits, my God, they might as well. I'm pretty sure it's like the Hobbit or whatever, with those type of mountains. You're like walking up these like fairways and you're just like exhausted. But the whole point is that I want everybody that is going to be a part of my brand or serving it or talking about it, I want them to know what was so impactful for me to start it, but also why they should care about it.
Yeah.
That it's going to make their lives easier to make this drink, and they're going to get more tips because they're going to sell more drinks because of it. And then the person who's ordering the drink is going to get the drink faster. They're going to have to wait in line so they can go see more golf. They're going to drink and be like, that's the best cocktail I've ever had. So those are the things that go into like the PGA Tour. The tournaments themselves, the reason why like it's so incredible is you get exposed to so many people at once, right? Because everyone's there to have a good time. You look at Waste Management, not everybody remembers their trip. As our PGA Championship is a lot more serious. U.S. Open will be super serious this week. But there have been some really fun tournaments. Like Dell Match Play is a badass time.
Austin.
The Tito Stillhouse there was killer. You're like right on that little lake right there and just drinking. But yeah, the PGA Tour is it's pretty killer.
So basically, your product gets to the event, but it's not sold. Like if they don't sell it, it goes back.
Sure, but we're on menus, and
right.
and yeah, but exactly what you just said. If it doesn't get moved, I'm like a vacuum salesman. I'm like, you don't like it, I'll take it back. You know, after the Oric, the 30-day challenge, or whatever. I'll be like, because I'll put my money where my mouth is. Our drinks are gonna sell. The best was Pebble Beach this year, the AT&T Pro-Am. The guy's like, I'll take in 50 cases. And you would have thought taking in 50 cases was like, that sounds like a lot, but in our world, that's actually really small for a big tournament like that. I showed up to the tournament on Thursday. Friday afternoon, he called me and said, we're sold out. Where can I get more product? And I go,
sorry,
we're out. Like, we don't have it. You don't have a delivery coming. I can try to go to some local stores, but you need like 150, 200 more. So that's why we really pride ourselves on our service level of what we're trying to do as a brand.
Well, that's what everybody, right now, if you can have a service behind your product and it's a good product, it doesn't matter how good your product is. If you don't have service and you don't have a good team in place, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. You're shit out of luck if you think that someone's going to do the job for you.
So where's your favorite place to play golf? Northeast, South, Midwest?
Time of year is very important. Tobacco Road on a October summer night, or not summer, fall night.
Good spot.
Hard to beat that place. Like in terms of like layout, gorgeous. It's a weird, funky course, but like I feel like I'm in the middle of nowhere, there, and I'm like one with nature, and I'm like just getting beat up by a course, and I'm like with my boys having a good time. I have the same foursome that I travel with. So I love Tobacco Road. Prairie Club in Valentine, Nebraska. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. I do an annual.
Yeah, never played.
Got to get you guys out there. 2 18s, 5.5 hour drive from Denver. On the way, you stop at Ballyneal.
Yeah, that place is smoke show.
Tom Doak designed that place. Ballyneal, Dave is the GM there, and Dave hosted us, and he started laughing. He goes, "Just a heads up, it's 25 mile per hour winds."
Oh dear God!
And we were getting killed out there. It was incredible. Bunch of feral cats on the putting green. It was so cool.
So you got like a little bash hour running around.
All right, bud. There it is.
So The other places that I absolutely love, I mean, I'm biased. I love Perputic here, for easy 18 for me. And then Pinehurst is like home for the brand. Like that's where Owens was created, is for Transfusion. That's like that was our OG spot. I'm forever grateful to them.
So Pine Needles is where I play at.
Kelly Miller is a friend of mine. He's a hell of a guy.
So Blair's one of my good friends.
Nice. So do you know the backstory of Kelly?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know.
He played golf
it
at University of Alabama. I mean, he's unreal. His mom was on the LPGA tour. Like,
so the third hole at Pine Needles on the tee box. That's my family's house.
No shit.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta hit you up when I'm down there.
Let's do it.
I'm gonna tell you a Pine Needle story because I need to roast my friend Shay. He's a great golfer. But Shay's a rather bigger fellow, and he's still like a 1 handicap or 2 handicap. We had played Mid Pines that morning, 18 holes, and Kelly's like, hey, come over to Pine Needles. We'll have lunch, and then we'll get you set up with the scooters. Like you're probably too tired to walk anyways. So we get those little scooters, and yes, we had like 8 transfusions each by this time. I don't know the exact hole, but I know it's on the back 9. It's a par 3 that it's like elevated above it, and you're hitting
13.
down right. 13. Okay. Shay went to put his bike up on like the side because he was going to walk over to the green, and all I hear is, "Oh man, Jesus Christ!" Like, and boom, and he dumped it into the 13 bunker.
Oh,
like
dear
he
God.
fell over because he was getting off, and you pull the gas.
Yeah.
And then he jumped to get on it, and he just dumped it. And I've never laughed so hard in my life. But we went and got every rake. We fixed the bunker. There's no damage to it. But like I've never laughed so hard in my life. But those things are fucking dangerous.
Yeah. Oh, they are.
Look at that scooter I got behind me. I got one of those fat scoots.
Are those the ones that you ride on, or
out in Arizona?
Yeah.
Like you sit up, they're like a chopper.
That's wild.
Never leaves my garage because the golf clubs I'm members at, I can't. Well, one's a walking only, so I won't even entertain it. But the other course I'm a member at, they told me no. So down at Pete
my course at Perputic won't let me have my branded. I have a Owens Transfusion golf cart that I drive to the course, but I'm not allowed to bring it on. They're like, it's an insurance risk.
That's what they told me too, and I said,
"Let me sign a waiver." How hard is that?
Dude,
I said anybody can use my cart too. Like if it's an issue that I'll be treated differently. Golf has changed a lot. There's some things that are still so far behind.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is. I mean, we have a progressive movement in golf when you look at the way golf's played, how it's played. Look at the Live Tour now, where it's played, what's being played for, but then it always goes back to this conservative role somewhere along the line.
Yeah, I think there's definitely like always needs to be maintained respect for the game, but at the same time, let's be real. Michael Jordan was the first one to wear longer shorts. No one wore longer shorts until Michael Jordan came around. And then we went through that like period where people were, I think there's like that famous like Syracuse, I can't remember who the basketball player was. Remember he had his like shorts to the ground?
Mid-calf.
Yeah. And now people are loving short shorts again, but things change.
Uh-huh.
And it's good.
For sure.
And you just need to adapt with it.
Yeah.
So
that's it, brother.
I'll tell you where we need to introduce Josh to, and I don't think he's in there. Are you in Nemacolin Resort in Farmington, PA?
No, but we just got distribution, but that place looks unreal.
So they're a partner of ours, and we're actually putting a concert on there August 15th. It'd be a great time for y'all to come offer some Owens mixers to everyone. We're going to have our Chasin Birdies Blonde Ale there, and then tie in your mixers with some of the drinks.
I would love to do that.
For you.
Yeah,
for sure.
And the Nemacolin, they just recently redid it, correct? Like it's a gorgeous,
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weren't they going to film like The Bachelor, Bachelorette there? Or
they had the
They did that,
there.
yeah.
So we were going to do an event with activation with Barstool there, actually, and it fell through last minute. But that place is just it looks awesome.
Yeah. So we'll make an introduction again.
That'd be great.
It's 5-star through and through, but we're bringing in Matt Stell, country singer Matt Stell, Colt Ford, Josh Miranda, and George Burge. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but They're all coming in. They're going to play on Monday. We're going to have some other hockey players there, baseball players, and kind of hang out. And
Super down for that. You kidding me? In August? That's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
We'll definitely get cocktails going. These country, that's what you guys are putting on right there. That's an example of the times are changing. When would anybody go to a golf club for a concert?
Yeah, right. No, exactly.
Lee Bryce does like several concerts for Club Corp now called Invited a year at their different clubs across the country. Like, I love that model. If I were an aspiring musician or even an established one, I would do the country club tour.
Yeah.
I would just be like, hey, Pinehurst, I'll come play for free. You sell tickets, then let me get 10% of the proceeds or something. You know? Like, I would just hustle.
Or just
play.
Just whenever I want to come here and bring some buddies, take care of me.
Hook me up with a round. Yep.
How hard is that?
One of our former guests, Tyler Reeve, he's in that Playing Through group with Cole Swindell and Chase Rice, and they just played down at Sage Valley. So
Cole Taylor's a great guy. I played golf with him at Old Hickory.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah. The Hick.
Yeah, the Hick.
Great course.
That was a drunk round.
Oh, yeah. Especially if you saw Daly there.
Well, yeah.
In his RV.
I saw Daly there. I took a shot of Crown XO with him, which I didn't even know was a spirit.
A thing? I didn't know it was a thing.
I know Crown Royal. I didn't know they had like a XO version.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
shit.
Everybody told me John Daly doesn't drink anymore, stuff like that. Bullshit. It's what he won't drink is what you have to question.
Yeah, ripping heaters and drinking whatever comes in his way.
Heaters, no shoes on, playing golf, and just absolutely crushing it.
Dude, Old Hickory's great. I mean,
he parks his RV in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Everywhere. He comes to Nemacolin, dude. He parks his RV there, and he's just...
That is a great spot, man. I mean, they got a good thing going at Old Hick.
Old Hick got purchased by the guy that owns Tootsie's and a bunch of other like honky tonk bars. So they were like, I truly think what Hick is doing is where a lot of places need to be headed or are already headed towards, which is that entertainment factor, but also the level of F&B that you would want.
Yeah.
From like a high-end restaurant or just like a high-end sports bar.
No, you're right. I mean, they do it right. And, that's the way the game's kind of migrating right now. I mean, look, we got to pay to play, bottom line. We're not getting paid to play. So if we got to pay to play, we want to be somewhere where there's a good vibe, not too, we love the traditional courses, don't get me wrong. I mean, I have no problem with any of that. But in terms of the reality of where the game's going, that's definitely, I mean, look at Discovery, the land company with Troubadour, with Yellowstone Club. I mean, that's where it's going. But a lot of the young guys on tour kind of infused us with that. But well, Josh, we're gonna transition this show. It's been so awesome hearing your story and talking about golf.
Guys.
I mean, so we're gonna transition this to our last segment called the Tap In segment, brought to you everyone by Bettinardi Golf. And Jonathan's gonna ask you 3 or 4 questions that demand your quick-witted response. So I'll let him take it from here.
All right, my man. Drink of choice on the course.
Transfusion, no brainer. Duh. Next.
Lowest round and wear.
77 3 days ago at Perputic.
Let's go.
Breaking
He's on a heater.
Okay. You want to talk about being inappropriate on a golf course? I screamed let's fucking go. I then bowed in front of the flagpole or the flagstick. I go to the clubhouse.
Caddy.
Exactly. I go into the clubhouse. The club president goes, "Did I just see you bow in front of the 18 flagstick?" And I go, "Course record. Don't talk to me." And he goes, "You set the course record?" I go, "My fucking course record."
Slapped him on the ass and kept it moving.
I was like, "Next question, Chief."
Good for you.
Favorite PGA Tour stop?
I mean, oh man, I would say favorite PGA Tour stop. I had a really fun time at Southern Hills, so I'm biased right now. Yeah.
Biggest accomplishment since being a founder of Owens.
We're still here, baby. That's our biggest accomplishment, and we're crushing. And we've got. And I think the biggest accomplishment truly is the team that we built, because it really, like, I consider them family, but it really, like, that will be, I think, our greatest accomplishment is the foundation that we built to create a generational brand. Meaning, it's not two guys just making a mixer in a kitchen and selling it and going out there. Everybody from our senior vice president to our newest employees, everybody fucking matters, and they grind like it does. So
that's awesome.
That is by far my most important.
I got a quick one for you, real quick, to the listeners out there, the young bucks and maybe even the older cats. Advice for the entrepreneurs out there.
It's going to be an emotional roller coaster. Don't let get your highs too high and your lows too low. I remember, dude, my Sir Kensington days, if I got a major sale, I'd be ready to rip my shirt off and crank out 100 push-ups. I'd be ready to hit the bar, go take a shot of JMO. And then in the days that I would lose a deal or something like that, I'd be like, I can't even fathom continuing to be a business. I just think keeping your emotions in check will be the hardest. You could tell people, oh, it's networking, it's working 100 hours a week, stuff like that. Bullshit. It's being emotionally mature enough to be able to handle what comes at you, whether it's good or bad. Because if you start a business in the first place and it's showing the littlest amount of success, you need to be mature in how you handle it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good advice.
Good words
people.
Right there, my man.
Well, Josh, man.
Hard to follow.
Well,
yeah.
I'm going to leave you with this, my man. Chip it and sip it, all right?
So I like it. Sink it and drink it.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, that was a good one. That's a good one.
Is that a witty enough, response?
Yeah, that was witty. That was witty, bro.
Yeah.
I liked it. Josh, my man, thanks so much for joining us here on Chasin Birdies.
Thank you, guys.
And,
it was epic.
We look forward to getting together with our man Mick Lemieux. I mean, he's a great guy, and JR, and we'll all get together at some point, play some golf, maybe have a couple of transfusions, and then forget what we did the next day.
Sounds like we need to do it soon, so I appreciate you guys having me on.
All right, buddy. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Josh.
Take care,
my man. Bye-bye. All right, y'all. That was my man Josh. Loving life.
Loving life, dude. I love the ketchup stories.
Ketchup, I know, right?
I mean, he was knocking on doors selling ketchup. But again, he was a grinder, and you sit there. The more he talked about for a bartender, it makes sense for Owen's mixers because you're cutting down on time. Everything's equally, poured out. What does that in turn mean for a bartender? That means more tips, more money, more customers, more drinks. So they got a nice little niche carved out there. And like you said, there's a lot of people trying to copy him.
Yeah,
you just can't do it.
Well, I tell you,
that's the greatest, compliment you can get is when people want to copy you.
Yeah, I ran into the liquor store here on Father's Day last week and saw all the Owens mixers and the Transfusion mix, and being carried at CVS across the nation. So, I mean, this guy's chasing birdies in life like no other person. Shout out to Mick Lemieux for making that connection on Chasin Birdies here with Josh. So, Josh, we appreciate you coming on, my man. Keep doing what you're doing.
But I can't tell you how proud I am, you and JR, to fill each other out and make it successful, the first member guest. Good on you guys, all right?
Yeah. No, man. He's a beaut, like I said.
Tango played his last round of golf in 2 years, so that's good.
Tango, when you got JR and Tango together, it is actually a comedy show. I mean, these two together, dude, I could sit there all day and just listen to them talk and banter back and forth. It's fucking
nonstop.
Hilarious.
It's nonstop.
Nonstop.
But that's what we do with everyone. We love it. I can't wait for the next episode. This was a great episode. The next episode is with country artist George Burge. Now, Colt Ford, former guest, good friend of the show, told us that George's club head speed is 125 miles an hour. He played at the University of Texas with Jonathan Vegas. He was on the same team. I think they won a national championship together. And we got to play Oakmont Tuesday and Wednesday with him. So it was a blast to see.
Oh, my God. And
it's a great episode. He has a song. His one song is going to be up there here comes September 1, and again, make sure you reserve Nemacolin, August 15th, concert. George Burge, Colt Ford, Matt Stell, Josh Miranda. I mean, Miranda FaceTimed me last week, but member guest. They are so excited for it, and he's telling me how he's putting the towel in his bag for the second day of the member guest. Boys are ready. But George was a good episode.
Yeah. Did you know that he was in a band, Waterloo Revival? Something like that?
Mm-mm.
He kind of left. He was writing songs, and now he's, doing his whole damn thing. So, but anyways, guys, listen, we appreciate you listening here on Chasin Birdies. Be sure to follow us here on Instagram, Chasin_birdies. Check out chasinbirdies.com. Maybe get yourself a cool hat, maybe a little t-shirt. We'll keep rolling out some good swag. And stay tuned.
I've been dialed on the hats though.
Oh, buddy, you're I tell you what, man. You're doing good with these hats. Keep it up. They're fresh, especially the beanie. That's a little hint.
So what's the day that this George Birds is dropping? Can you give us that date, or are we just in 2 weeks?
Yeah, so that's going to be on the 7th of July. We're going to be past the 4th of July holiday. Damn.
Perfect.
Time is flying.
That's awesome. So, again, guys, chasinbirdies.com now. Chasin_birdies. Like us on Instagram. Make sure you tee it high and let it fly this weekend. We're about to go roll up, defend our championship title, Pikewood National. Y'all have a good weekend.
Hey, guys, thanks for listening again on Chasin Birdies. Thank you to Evo and his team at Simpler Media for putting this thing together. Rachel London and Jacqueline for all your social media help here at Chasin Birdies, and y'all have a good one.